APSIS, the first book in the Adventures of the Empyrean Guard series by E.W. Barnes, narrated by the author. Episode 2, The Hearing. Convoy duty? Fulgar was outraged. After days of testimony and hours of behind-the-scenes negotiations, the disciplinary hearing was almost over. There was never any question as to their guilt. The Outer Union had no choice but to admit the Empyrean Guard had been captured while on a clandestine mission behind enemy lines. Centuries-old tensions between the Inner Coalition and the Outer Union had been ignited. The two powers now teetered on the brink of war and of resuming hostilities after hundreds of years of uneasy peace. A war surge the Empyrean Guard was not likely to see, however. It was still possible that hostilities might be avoided if the Empyrean Guard was removed from critical service. In other words, to save millions of lives, one of the Outer Force's most elite teams was being relegated to the dull task of escorting transport ships. It was a bitter pill to swallow. The team shifted in their seats. The chairs in the stuffy conference room were uncomfortable, but better than the cold disapproval that permeated the hearing. "We're an insertion unit, a frontline team," Leader Ira said in a reasonable tone, though her face mirrored Fulgar's chagrin. "That's what we've been trained for." "Not babysitting cargo," Fulgar muttered at the dark green conference table. "It's convoy duty, or we reassign each of you." Their commander, Colonel Walsh, looked at them with tired eyes. "Or you can decline this offer, return to the hearing room, and accept the decision of the magistrate." "We need to stay together," Zadok said with uncharacteristic vehemence, his golden eyes flashing. He cleared his throat. "We function best as a team." "Are you, though?" Major Quallam asked. The colonel's adjutant did not hide her frustration. "Are you still a team?" She jutted her pointed chin toward Jonas and Nizhoni. "You were a team before you accepted new members, offering them coveted positions in the Empyrean Guard." She frowned. "And now, on your first outing together, all hell broke loose. I'm not sure the word team applies anymore." "You know it takes time for a new unit configuration to find its way," Ira said. "Breaking us up is not the answer, nor is taking us out of critical service." "But that's the deal you're being offered. You can take it or leave it." "That's not much of a choice," Fulgar growled. "Do you understand how hard we worked to broker this?" Major Quallam barked. "You were caught in Inner Coalition space, discovered in enemy territory by enemy troops. We were on an Outer Forces sanctioned mission," Merlina reminded her with a curt click of her beak, "which we successfully completed with exceptional perspicacity," she added, "and which we cannot disclose to the Inner Coalition." Colonel Walsh exhaled in frustration. "You must look at the larger picture. Despite our best intentions, this incident has brought us to the brink of war again. You know the consequences if we can't stop it before it starts." "We recognize that, but there's got to be another solution," Zadok began. Major Quallam brandished a report. "The citizens of the Inner Coalition are furious at what they see as an invasion." She pursed her lips in disgust. "The Coudet incident, it's being called. They are demanding that you all be turned over to the IC for trial, and the warmongers are lapping it up." She paused, taking a moment to calm herself. "This offer was designed to cool tensions and hopefully resolve the diplomatic mess you made." Fulgar uttered a low growl, but after catching Ira's eye, said nothing. "Once things settle down, maybe we can revisit this issue and in time, perhaps quietly return you to critical service," Colonel Walsh offered, sounding tired. "What's it going to be?" "Where would you send us?" Nizhoni's voice was quiet. If we chose reassignment. Colonel Walsh opened a holographic display above the table. We have a position in weapons research available for you, Dr. Diogo, he said with a nod at Nizhoni before turning to Ira. Leader Ira, there's an opening in the Outer Forces Hospital on Sixton for a Level Alpha medical technician, and 2 instructor openings at the Academy, for which Merlina and Fulgar are qualified. What about me? Jonas asked. We would reassign you as a historian in the Outer Union Athenaeum, the colonel answered, with a hint of a smile. And there's a position in the diplomatic corps for you, Zadok. The members of the Empyrean Guard looked to Ira, but she shook her head. You must choose for yourselves. I cannot direct you in this matter. Colonel Walsh cleared his throat. Take some time, he said. He stood, and Major Qualum and the Empyrean Guard shot to their feet. The colonel's height dwarfed even the lanky Zadok, and they looked up at him expectantly. Major Qualum and I will be outside, awaiting your decision. Working for a library doesn't sound too bad, Jonas said once the conference room door closed. And I bet you'd enjoy getting back into a lab, he said to Nizhoni. She shrugged, but did not reply. There could be worse assignments than teaching new recruits, Merlina said. She cocked an obsidian eye at Fulgar. Don't you agree? He rolled an eye toward her. Mock battles are better than babysitting, I suppose. This is wrong, Zadok said suddenly. We are a team. We belong together, no matter what. Okay, but convoy duty? Fulgar frowned. Only temporarily, Zadok continued. You heard Colonel Walsh. After this blows over, he'll reassign us. Maybe, Merlina pointed out. He said maybe. We might be on convoy duty for a long time, Nizhoni said. She frowned. No matter what we choose, whether or not we stay together, I think the goal is to keep us out of trouble. Zadok leaned forward with an intense expression. I know we've all been hassled about what happened on Coudet. I'm sure Colonel Walsh is trying to do us a favor. He shook his head. Taking these new positions would allow us to move on, to forget about it. Regain our honor, even, he added, ignoring Merlina's rattle of indignation. But our honor is intact. We do not need to redeem ourselves because we did nothing wrong. Splitting up the team is the easy choice, which makes it the wrong choice. I don't see how convoy duty is the right choice, Fulgar muttered into his beard. If we accept reassignment, they may never bring us back together, Zadok insisted. That would be worse, much worse. They stared at the table, each trying to decide between unpleasant choices. It was not long before the door opened, and Colonel Walsh and Major Qualum returned to their places at the conference table. The magistrate is reconvening the hearing. We're out of time. Have you made your decisions? I will take convoy duty with my team, Zadok said. Me too, Nizhoni agreed. The other 3 were silent. Merlina? Ira asked. Merlina's feathers rustled. She snapped her beak once and fixed an onyx eye on Ira. It is my honor to serve the outer forces, she said finally in a stiff tone. It was not really a decision, one way or the other, but Ira chose to interpret it as an acceptance of the convoy option. Jonas, what do you think? I thought we'd end up in jail, Jonas shrugged. Convoy duty doesn't sound too bad. It sounds tedious and soul-sucking, Fulgar replied. He looked at Ira, who met his gaze unblinkingly. Fine, he growled. Fine, convoy duty. I will remain with my team, Ira said. Colonel Walsh sat back in his chair. Good. We will inform the magistrate that an agreement has been reached. Once the hearing concludes, you will report to your new duty assignment in 2 days. Leader Ira, a word outside, please. I should have killed them. Fulgar muttered at the ceiling after a few minutes had passed. Killed who? Nizhoni's eyes widened in surprise. The IC troops who captured you, he answered. It was already too late, Merlina said. They sent for reinforcements as soon as they realized we were there. Their deaths would have served no purpose, Zadok added. Fulgar glared at the table with a stormy expression. We don't kill without need, Ira said firmly. She had returned to the conference room and now stood at the head of the table, her back straight, her head high. We are the Empyrean Guard. Fulgar lowered his eyes to look at her. Per ardua ad astra, she said with a small smile. Per ardua ad astra, he agreed, his expression clearing. Some of the usual twinkle returned to his eyes. 2 days, huh? That gives us enough time. Enough time for what? Jonas asked. To celebrate! Fulgar laughed his booming laugh, his face relaxing into his customary smile. You're not going back to jail, Jonas. That's good enough reason for a party, don't you think?